that this was the day I had to stand up in front of a lot of people I don't really know. So a few familiar faces, but yeah, I'm pretty nervous, so cut me some slack. Obviously Dan's introduced me, I'm Charlie, best man obviously. I asked Dan this week to go for a beer on Monday night. A bit of a pre-wedding, scope him out. Make sure he was not a nervous wreck, basically. And typical Dan, again, for those who don't really know Dan that well, when we got out, he told me, actually, I'm not going to have a beer, I'm going to have a Diet Coke. I was like, why? Well, I want to make sure I fit my trousers on Sunday. So basically, from that, you can tell I don't have the most material to wear with Dan, because that sums him up to a T. I remember distinctly when Dan told me he was going to propose to Eve, and I think I'd asked him to go around, watch football the weekend. He said, I can't, I'm going to Lake District. He said, can't say anything. But, and I knew instantly, as soon as he said, you can't say anything, I knew, bang. And he said, I'm going to propose. I was like, Jesus, big news, Dan, congrats, mate, all that. And he said, we're getting old. And initially I agreed. I was like, yeah, we are getting old, mate. And then I realised I was actually driving in my car to go back to my mum's house, where I still live. To go play on the PlayStation with my mates all night. So, yeah, not very grown up. But Dan's always telling me that Eve gets jealous. She gets jealous when me and Dan go out. You know, not when we go out, you know, but when we might go maybe play around the golf or something. She gets a bit jealous, but I mean, come on, you didn't have to marry him just to prove the point. To be fair though, you haven't seen a picture of us in the bath together earlier. But I know that Eve, you were worried about Dan going to Prague for his stag do. But what you should know is Dan was very responsible from the get-go. So he turned up to Manchester Airport. He had all his must-haves in a little purse around his neck, so everyone knows his phone, wallet, passport, you know. He then left it on the plane when we landed. Realised when we were about to go through security, they didn't have his passport. So he had to run back to the plane, go get it all. Another fine example of Danny's responsible nature is when he was sick all over the floor of a bar after a nice shot of tequila, wasn't you, Dan?
It was the third.
It was the third. It wasn't.
No, it wasn't.
But the responsible part comes next. He mopped it all up for the bar staff, and he was prime and proper one. Yeah, he was. Yeah, I've cleaned it, just so they didn't kick him out. Basically, that was the only reason. But, I mean, Eve, you didn't have to be worried about Dan in Prague. I'd have been more concerned about you in-laws. Where is he? Steve? And that one in the pink suit at the back? Pair of them, right little rascals. In all honesty though, watching Steve at go-karting was like watching Lewis Hamilton on the streets of Liverpool. And watching Aaron on the bus there was like watching Danny in the bar the night before. He was sick, basically. To be fair, Aaron, them tunnels, they were a bit out of order, weren't they? They were a bit out of order, though, weren't they? He blamed it on going through tunnels. That's what he blamed it on. But, I mean, to be fair, Aaron wasn't the only casualty at go-karting, though, was he, Joe? And just on the topic of Prague, Kieran also just wanted me to mention quickly that he bullseyed a bottle from 30 yards away with a pistol. So basically, Dan, any funny business. Your brown-breaded son. Put it that way. But we had a good laugh in Prague. It was a good time, and we saw that all the girls had fun in Manchester with all the masks of Dan on. I mean, it was a private conversation, but Dan told me that he'd asked Eve to keep one for a night. Danny has a lot of nicknames between his friends. Harry over there, he often calls him Meatball or Malteser or any other like round food related Finchy at the back, he loves the name Pork Chop. Again, food related. Make of it what you will. There's Big Hard Dan Aldrich, but it's not for the reason the name suggests, everyone. So don't get any ideas in your head. And then obviously there's a couple of chin-related ones. Peter Griffin. Then obviously Bum Chin. Just straight up, it's simple but effective. But the most common one is simply D-Nads, which now makes Eve E-Nads. So with that, I'd like everyone to raise a glass to Mr. and Mrs. Nads.